The movie musical comes roaring back to the silver screen as 2002's Chicago storms the Oscars. Stay with us. Welcome, friends, to the 3324 podcast, home base for what we feel in our hearts, deeply, passionately, fervently, is the best place for music and movie podcasting. Is that correct, Eric?
You nailed it.
I nailed it.
As always. As always.
And the judges, 10, 10, 4. Who gave the 4? How dare you? Like Silver Linings Playbook. We got a 4.
Yeah,
Why are they so happy? Why are they so excited about a 5? So if you're joining us for the first time, welcome aboard. Pull up a chair. We've got plenty of room for you at the table. We're going to have a fun discussion. You can complete the whole 3324 experience by joining us on social media as well. We've got a great Facebook group, very active there. Like-minded people that like to post about music and movies. You can join the conversation. You can post away. We cordially invite you there. You can also follow us on Instagram. We're there at 3324 Podcast. And we're even on YouTube. So if you don't want to, if you're listening to the disembodied voices and you want to see what they look like, head on over to our YouTube channel. We've got the video versions up as well. So we're covering all the areas of media, one app at a time. We're going to continue our domination in the podcast space. Pretty soon, I've applied to NASA to bring an episode of our podcast digitally into space and beam it out.
Did you really?
As a representation of what Earth has to offer, I've applied to have one of our episodes beamed out. So some civilization many light years away may hear it and be like, forget it. No, we're not going there.
We send you greetings and we apologize.
Yeah, the first thing they'll hear is welcome to the 3324. And I'm like, what? Anyway, we're here now and we're giving you episodes each week. So join us, save us on your podcast, whatever your favorite podcast provider is. We're on all of them. Go ahead and save it. This way you'll get a notification when new episodes drop because we do them weekly. We are quite prolific and we like to bring it to you and we always have a good time. And tonight, I think we're going to have a lot of fun. We've got two great guests with us, and we're talking about a really unique film. We're closing out Oscars month 2024. This is our final in the four movie cycle. Tried to pick out something a little bit more recent. 2002 isn't that recent. It's actually 22 years ago, but for an old person, that's like recent when you've chalked up a lot of miles on the odometer. It's not that far away. But so 2002 Chicago. Let's see. We've got Christy Cuomo in the mood lighting and in the Unabomber hoodie. Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, that's a hell of an introduction right there. That's really one for the books right there.
I got nothing. But it is a film about women who murdered.
There you go.
There you go.
Men. So you never know, Eric.
and kick him in the nuts multiple times.
Oh goodness! Yeah.
Also joining
this Lucy
us,
Liu's character did that a lot.
Yes.
No one else.
Yeah.
She did it for like 3 guys in like the space of like 30 seconds, and she had like 4th billing in the film.
And
she
probably deserved it.
She must have the same agent as Julianne Moore did for The Fugitive because she really didn't say anything. She screamed. She kicked guys in the nuts, and she got like a pretty high billing. But she was like pretty hot at that time, so it was kind of probably easy to get the billing. Anyway, before we get into that, we've got another guest, Mr. Kevin Howard.
Oh, hi, Dean. Hi, Eric.
How you doing?
Joining us from his luxurious home office with DVDs, books, awards, director's chairs. It's like a little mini museum that he's got there.
Yeah, I could be locked in here for 3 months and not run out of stuff to do.
Get cans of tuna.
I have 2 boxes of beef jerky.
There you go, even better.
And bourbon. What more do you need?
Yeah.
There you go.
Bourbon and beef jerky, all the staples of a man cave. All he needs is something in neon. You need a neon light back there, something in neon, and then you've got the man cave set.
You just gave the man an idea. Dean. See
that?
Look, Dean's got the mood lighting himself.
He's writing it down.
Writing down. Yeah. He must get neon light.
I wrote down neon.
Neon.
Just get the lamp from A Christmas Story and you'll be all right.
There you go. I have a lava lamp here that hasn't been turned on in a long time,
That could work.
but it's like
Looks
behind
like
my monitor.
looks like
and
a bottle
stuff.
of Gatorade.
Yeah, it's kind of.
That's where the blue Gatorade comes from. Lava lamps.
Ice blue. So yeah, let's get cracking on this. We're talking about Chicago from 2002. As we do in the beginning of our episodes, we're going to give you some statistical information. That's the hard line stuff, factual. Everything else after that will be speculation, conspiracy, fan theory.
Did you know
We're
that
not
that was
sure.
the first time you said that word in its fullest
What word?
statistical?
Statistical.
Yeah.
Statistical information. I'm trying to.
Trying to freshen it up, man. I mean, you're always with the stats. That's the stats.
Trying to raise us up a little bit.
There you go.
Trying to not use so
Highbrow
many
it.
contractions in my life. I'm not gonna say don't. I'm gonna say do not.
Okay.
I'm not gonna say
Data.
won't. I'm not gonna say won't. I'm gonna say will not.
This isn't an essay, Dean. You don't have to fill it with
Mr.
I'm not
words.
gonna
Mr.
say
Data.
ain't. I'm not gonna say. I'm gonna say whatever the thing is. Ain't for ain't. I don't know. I will have to look it up. I ain't looking it up. Anyway, this was
Okay.
released in December of 2002, written by Bill Condon, who was pretty hot commodity back then. He wrote Gods and Monsters with Ian McKellen. This was directed by Rob Marshall. $45 million budget. Paltry, tiny, based on the $306 million box office return. Big box office, especially for a musical. This was a sensation. Nominated for 12, count them, 12 Oscars, and it won half of those. It won 6. It won Best Supporting Actress for CZ Jones, Best Art Direction, Costume Design, Editing, Sound, and the reason we're doing this episode, it won for Best Picture. Yeah, though I think that's a good crop of awards: art direction, costume design, editing. All those things are really important to this picture, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
You really want, especially since it's kind of, it's a movie that almost lives, it almost lives in two lives. I believe I saw this in the theater. I was trying to remember. I remember I bought the DVD and like watched it. I'm like, holy shit, it was really good. But then I was thinking, did I see it in the theater or did I just buy the DVD? I don't recall. But Eric, did you see this
I did. Yeah.
in the theater?
And that was the one and only time I saw it, actually. The last night, it was the first time I saw it in 22
Since-
years. Yeah.
Hold up?
Yeah.
Did it hold up?
did. Yeah. It was very, I mean, I didn't remember any of it, but it was just, I'm curious. So we'll get to that. But
Okay.
of course, I have to throw some questions out there. Did any of you guys see the musical at all?
No.
At all?
Never.
Okay.
Did you?
Kevin, this
did
was
not.
not rated.
Oh.
This was not rated R, so you were able to get in legally. So did you go? Did you go, or do you only go to? Do you only want forbidden fruit, like movies you can't go see? Is those the ones you go to?
No, I was. I guess I was like 19 when it came out. I
Oh,
saw it with my
okay.
parents on winter break from school, and then 5 days later, I went back and saw it again.
Wow.
It's
Wow,
one of
this
the
is a
few
memory.
movies I've seen twice in theaters. Yeah, and I know at least one other movie that I saw twice won Best Picture along
There's
with
something.
this.
What was it? Shallow
American
Hal.
Beauty. American
Shallow
Beauty.
Hal.
Oh, American Beauty and Return of the King.
Ah,
Those are like three
Oh.
of the 5 movies I've seen twice, and that's my track record. Is I am
Wow.
a kingmaker. Don't choke, Christy.
So if you see it twice, we should just go to Vegas. Just drive to Vegas and put the money on it. Like
Do
right
it.
there.
Yeah.
Do it. All right, Christy.
I don't remember if I saw it in
Okay.
the theater, so I don't clear up anything there. But I've seen it a number of times. I thoroughly enjoy this film, and I enjoyed the rewatch on this. It's just it's one of my, it's probably up there with one of my favorite musicals. We'll get into the reasons why, but I really like this movie.
Cool. Let's actually this was the first musical to win a Best Picture Oscar since Oliver asked,
Wow.
"Please, sir, can I have some more?" in 1968.
Is that what Chicago asked when it was nominated?
What's that?
Is that what Chicago was asking? when it was
After it won its first Oscar, probably said, "Yeah, please, can I have 5 more?" or 11 more, and it only got 5 more. Yeah, so the first musical to win Best Picture since Oliver, 1968. And there was that resurgence around the time of Grease, and musicals did kind of bubble up again, not to lesser, Xanadu, to lesser success, but there was that kind of resurgence when Grease came out of the movie musical, and then it kind of went underground again. It submerged like a submarine, and then it kind of came back up again. And this just kind of like out of nowhere. It had the name recognition. It was, Chicago wasn't an unknown quantity. It was a popular musical. So I think that kind of helped getting people in the seats to go see it that were fans of the Broadway show. And then the fact that it's just such a high quality piece of work that it brought in a bunch of other people. Charlize Theron was originally cast as Roxy Hart. She was cast, and but there was a different director attached. And then once he left, they made Charlize Theron re-audition.
Wow.
And then she lost it to Renee Zellweger.
Rude.
That's fucked up.
Yeah, that's weird. I could see where. We've talked about films where a director comes in and they kind of scrap the cast. They were probably better just scrapping it and saying, "Okay, thanks for your time." Like re-audition and then like, nah.
Yeah,
that's kind of strange. Like,
and how far along in her career was she? That could be a confidence killer.
2002. She was already. She was on her way.
Yeah.
She was already
After Cold Mountain, isn't it?
She was a name.
No.
Yeah, she was already. She
Yeah,
wasn't
Cold
new.
Mountain, I think, was the year
After-
before this. Because didn't Renee
And
Zellweger
Cider House Rules was 99.
Yeah,
Cold
That
Mountain,
was
I
like
think, was like-
Charlize's.
Cold
2
Mountain
Days in
might
the
have been
Valley was
2000?
like 96 or 97, 95 or 96, and that was like one of her first roles. So she was well into Hollywood. She was on her way.
Oh,
Yeah, but
hadn't
she
she
wasn't a
won for
name.
Monster already?
No.
Or was that like a year
No,
later?
that was
Man,
after.
my
It was after
early
that.
2000s are all over. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a
I
blur.
think that might have been after. I don't think it was that
It
early.
was a blur.
yeah.
The role of Billy Flynn offered to John Travolta. He passed on it. I'm happy that he did. I'm not happy that Hugh Jackman passed on it though too. He thought he was too
He would have
young.
been amazing.
I really at the time,
This-
2002, Hugh Jackman was only Wolverine, but he was a song and dance man in Australia. He had done a lot of performances, South
Yeah,
Pacific.
but how old
or
was he in
Oklahoma.
2002?
He was probably in his mid 30s, probably 30s, somewhere around there, early 30s.
Greatest Showman proves it. I mean,
Yeah, but he would have been a great. Yeah, I would have. I was when I read that, I'm like, I could absolutely picture Hugh Jackman in the role of Billy Flynn. But once again, I think this was the 4th or 5th film that Richard Gere took away from John Travolta. That John Travolta was offered and passed on. That Richard Gere then took. There was a bunch of them. Officer and a Gentleman was one, and there was a couple. There's quite a few other ones. But Richard Gere, really, really good in this film. Looks like he's having a ball. Like he looks like he's having the most amount of fun. And he's got the role that allows that character to have that carefree kind of. And you see it in his eyes. Whenever Richard Gere's on the screen, you can see it in his eyes that he's kind of in like he's just kind of having such a great time with it. It's not a role that you need to take seriously. If you're a really good actor, you can have fun with it and deliver. You don't need to be all method and I need to know what he was like. It's like Richard Gere can just slide in and just kind of and deliver it.
Yeah. Happy to be there. Like you can just see it.
Yep. So let's run through the cast. You got Renee Zellweger as Roxy Hart, and if you're not sure, that's the blonde-haired lead. Catherine Zeta-Jones as Velma Kelly, and that's the dark-haired lead. A lot of people supposedly were up for that role too. I think Catherine Zeta-Jones, I think they were asking her about the Renee Zellweger part. And she said, well, who is the character that sings the song All That Jazz? Because she wasn't that familiar with it. And they said, it's Velma Kelly. She goes, well, that's the part I want. I want to sing All That Jazz. So that's kind of a neat little story. Richard Gere is Billy Flynn, the according to Google, duplicitous, greedy, smooth-talking lawyer who turns his clients into celebrities to gain public support. That sounds about right. Michael Jackson was considered for the role, but Harvey Weinstein heavily objected to the idea of heavily objected to the idea of casting Jackson, as he felt more attention would be paid to him than the rest of the cast.
I can't say that can't give Harvey Weinstein. Well, I can give him a lot of credit for film, but I wholly agree with him on that. That would have been
Yeah.
awful.
Yeah. If he's saying you don't belong there,
Harvey Weinstein's a piece of shit
Yes,
as a person, but you know,
really
he did
good
have good
at
instinct.
films, just not good at life.
Queen Latifah as matron Mama Morton. John C. Reilly as Amos Hart, Mr. Cellophane.
Andy,
Lucy Lewis, Kitty Baxter. Taye Diggs as the band leader. He's kind of an MC of the film. He kind of pops in and out and kind of guides you through. Colm Feore as the DA, Martin Harrison. Christine Baranski as Mary Sunshine. Dominic West as Fred Casely. I think we'll stop there. That's the major. That's the major cast. But really, you know, the two female leads, Richard Gere, Queen Latifah, and John C. Reilly, are like the main, kind of make up the main characters that you see throughout this film. Based on a true story. Both of these two female leads were individual stories back in the 1920s of them killing their husbands or killing a man. And becoming popular and famous. They didn't know each other, but there was two separate incidents that this was kind of based on and combined. So I guess that was a thing back then. It seems like in this movie, it seems like women are just killing men.
yeah, I've been trying to bring it back.
Whether they deserve, I mean, maybe they may or may not deserve it, but these guys just get wiped out in Chicago.
I hear it's going to be on the 2024 ballot if we should bring it back.
That's the Chicago way.
What are you prepared to do?
That's it. And it's kill men apparently.
Yes. Yeah,
they
had a good run.
This was for me a very interesting musical. Having grown up on Grease as like my default go-to for movie musicals. When I was watching this today, I really realized that it's two movies in one, right? Because there's the traditional movie stuff. But then when there's a musical number, it goes almost into like you're out at the Broadway on Broadway. It goes into like a staged setting. They don't try and stage the songs like in Grease. They would just start singing like when they're in the cafeteria or just start singing in the middle of things. It almost becomes like a fantasy number, you know, mainly like with Roxy. She's dreaming about a different life so that it becomes a fantasy where she's, you know, in the glittery dress and singing on the piano. And then all the other songs kind of take that cue, Kevin, right? Where it's kind of they're in their normal world, but when they're singing, they're different. They're more of a fanciful character.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that makes this the musical part of it kind of more tolerable to musical people. There's a lot of people who don't like musicals. They're like, well, I don't like that they just started singing. But you're inside Roxy's delusional head where she sees the world as the musical around her and she's center stage. So that device totally works for me. It motivates why people are singing. And I'm like, yep, it's a musical and I'm fine watching it. And I understand why these people are singing.
Yeah. Eric, since you haven't seen it in so long, was that distracting to you or was that kind of that fit did fit with...
No, it's actually the best part of the film for me because I was a creative choice by Rob Marshall because it's, and as I was watching it, it's like how did they do this on the Broadway stage? Because obviously you couldn't show like her killing her lover and then show them in a you know, dancing in sequins and in the very juxtaposed, you know, like, you know, going back and forth like that. How did they do that? They didn't. And this was just for the film. He decided to use this device, like as Kevin was saying, like, you know, and put it all in her head. Which, you know, of course, I mean, there were times though where I felt, you know, there were a couple of scenes where she wasn't in the scene, and yet they still did that. With John C. Reilly's character, like she wasn't there. Like, why would that be, you know, presented as like it's something that she's thinking about, except the fact that she, you know, she never thought much of her husband. But
I don't think that it necessarily became a device of in her mind. I think it became a device of that's how they're going to present these songs that way. Like, so it was just even like Queen Latifah, her song, you know, she's got her solo number and she's kind of in the burlesque show and, you know, Billy, you know, the great tap dance scene, right? When he's trying to when he's in the courtroom and he's just like, I think they used it as a device to like Kevin said, to kind of separate the music from the movie, but still keep it incorporated, right? So it almost like that we were seeing like the alternate versions of these characters on stage, right? And like John C. Reilly's representation, like you said, is kind of like the sad sack guy. He's that way in the movie, and then when he comes to life, quote unquote, on stage, that's the representation of him,
Yeah.
I thought it was kind of a really interesting way to go. And like I said, it made it, so there was a delineation between the songs and the movie, but they were part and parcel of it because it would just flow right in and out. And actually there would be cutbacks in certain songs between the music, especially, I think it's He Loves Me, right? When Renee Zellweger's singing, Christy, right? And then Amos is kind of confessing and she's starting to come out of the song, because then all of a sudden he's on stage sitting in the chair.
Yeah, I'm kind
right.
of
And so she's being pulled out of her delusion, because then he's like confessing.
I'm with Kevin on this. I actually think this was brilliant in how they did that. I enjoyed that even more on the rewatching of this, where and it kind of reminded me. I don't know if you saw Maestro. Maestro did this a little bit, where you're in a scene and then all of a sudden they jump into or they're on a stage and there's not as much, because it wasn't a musical, but I think they utilized this a little bit. I'm not sure if they got it. It's inspired by this film, but I really enjoyed how you'd be in a scene in a film and then you would jump into this either dream sequence or you felt it was kind of like being in a film and being at a musical, like on a stage musical. And I think it worked really well as a vehicle to move the story along and tell the story. So I enjoyed that aspect of this a lot.
Yeah. I think it recalls and a lot of dancing, a lot of choreography from the leads. I mean, like Renee Zellweger and Catherine Zeta-Jones and Catherine Zeta-Jones was pregnant during some of this too.
Yeah, like 5 months or something.
Yeah. So like,
like really pregnant.
Yeah, jumping around and dancing and
the credits made a point separately. Catherine Zeta-Jones is they do the equal but staggered.
Yes.
But in the end credits, Catherine Zeta-Jones is dancing, performed by Catherine Zeta-Jones for each of the three, just to make it quite clear they were the ones dancing. And that, if you didn't like the movie already, like, okay, they really, really worked on this.
Yeah, no. and I think it recalls to a bygone era, because back in the 30s and 40s, maybe into the 50s, if you were in Hollywood, you had to be a multi-tool player. Everybody knows James Cagney is like a gangster, but he was a song and dance man. He was a very adept dancer. And so everybody had to be able to sing and dance and act, because you didn't know what kind of movie you were going to be put into back then. And so you might be in a musical and you might have to be singing back then. And that kind of is a lost art where there's these multi-tool players. So it was really refreshing to see all the, and them recognize that in the credits too, about the singing sung by Renee Zellweger, sung by John C. Reilly, that they did all the singing and the dancing as well, that there wasn't, creative doubles and, they stand up and it's their face, but meanwhile it was like, someone else doing it.
Which is why Catherine Zeta-Jones wanted the bob, so that like her hair would never fall in front of her face and there would be a chance to be like, oh, I bet that's a double.
Yeah, and that was her choice, because Rob Marshall wanted her to have her natural long hair, and she didn't want to, for that reason.
Yeah. So I just think it's, for the caliber of talent they got and the dedication that they put into it, you can really see it again. And this is not just kind of, a lot of this dancing, especially the stuff that Catherine Zeta-Jones does, is very dynamic and very, her solo number. When she's trying to sell Roxy on the notion of them teaming up, and I'll do this, and then you'll do this, and we'll do this, and a lot of kinetic energy in there, and that goes to Bob Fosse, because Bob Fosse wanted to direct a film version of Chicago, so they kind of honored was an homage to his style of dance as well. Was an influence in this.
Mm.
Well, wasn't
And
a
you can
film supposed to be with Goldie Hawn and Liza Minnelli?
Kurt Russell. Oh,
No, no. So it became Overboard. They took the music out. No, no. Goldie Hawn, Liza Minnelli, and I forgot who was supposed. Oh,
that would be
Sinatra.
interesting.
Sinatra was supposed
Sinatra.
to.
Sinatra.
And then that was like in '77 or maybe the '80s, and then that happened. While we're talking about Catherine Zeta-Jones, and I think this was the first time because in 2002 I think I was still in my 20s. I'm really bad at math. I don't remember how old I was. Yeah, I was still in my 20s. I was like
27.
20.
Yeah.
I was 25.
Okay, Kevin had that a little quick.
What'd you say, Kevin?
You were 27.
No, I wasn't. I was
Oh, okay.
25. But
Oh, that-
you're bad at, but you're
I'm bad at
creepy. I think it was probably the first film I watched where when Catherine Zeta-Jones and you, I would imagine you're all going to agree with me, is so fucking sexy in this movie. Like her voice, the sultriness, like the way she moves, the dancing, just her eyes. Like I was like, oh my God, this woman is incredibly, like she oozes sexuality. And it literally was one of the draws into me, like of this film. I was like, I was like, if I could be any type of, like, I would love to be able to have that confidence or that just that magnetism that she has in this film is, and this is why she won her Oscar, because it is, you can't take your eyes off of her when she's on the screen. Absolutely cannot take my eyes off of her. She's just mesmerizing. So
Yeah.
I just, her
yeah,
amazing. And I've loved her ever since because of this film.
it doesn't
The
hurt that
moment-
doesn't hurt that she's married to Hank Pym as well.
I don't think everyone knows who Hank Pym is, but everyone on this podcast does. But
Yeah. But
Everyone
there's,
knows who Hank Pym is. Come on.
you know, the moment when, and it's when she's selling Roxy on it, and she just moves in such a way that you see a run in her stocking,
yeah.
and she quickly hides it,
Yeah.
and like
Yeah,
that's
the end, towards the end, yeah.
the moment. Yeah, and that's where it's like, oh, she's aware of how she has to perform to look the way she thinks everybody else thinks she needs to look, and she's good at it, and she's quick at it.
Yeah, like that pride. She had that pride because
Yeah,
that's when Roxy's like, "Oh, what are you coming around here for? What do you want?" The big Velma Kelly, and it's like, well, she had fallen on hard times too. What I found interesting is that this seems very relevant. The theme of this movie seems very relevant nowadays. Is that this movie's people that will do anything to remain a celebrity or to be, and in the days of clout chasing and YouTube memes and all this kind of stuff, I was like, this is almost more relevant now than when it came out. It seems like that, because that's all this is about. These people are not very nice people. The only person that's really actually a good person is Amos Hart, right,
Yeah.
Eric? I mean, everyone else is kind of
Yeah,
shitty.
he's poor Amos.
Right? He's like the nicest. He gets crapped on. He gets dumped on by everybody because everybody else is like a shark.
Right. Yeah, but that's, clawing your way to the top. And I'm sure it's, based on a true story. So I'm sure these were things that I felt, the moments where you're in the reality was very much of its time. I almost felt like this could have been made earlier, maybe like late 80s, even 90s. Didn't feel like a 2002 movie because, when they're in the gritty reality, they're still very much in that sort of 30s gangster mode. And so it's a movie within the movie of them presenting that on top of doing a full-blown musical. So I thought that was interesting to have that. Because they say, like, the critics were like, oh, yeah, they really kind of go deep and it's really gritty. And it's like, I didn't really get that. I felt like if it were made today, it would be a lot darker. I think the gritty reality would probably be a lot more serious, more somber, more, you know, they would probably be kind of you would see more of that kind of, you know, backstabbing stuff happening, you know, because the way they do things today with, you know, getting inside people's heads and all that, but very much they kept it in that sort of dirty style. So you almost feel like you're watching an old gangster picture, as you pointed out, like, you know, something from the 30s, which I thought was great, you know.
Yeah, they didn't lean into it as much as you're right. Like as they would today. Today they would lean into that.
They would have leaned more into the violence and the sex and the, you know, all of that, and they would have shown it more explicitly, I think. And I think that was just enough. I think you know, I mean, the beginning scene, I mean, she shoots the guy. I mean, they're having sex, and there's enough there that, okay, you know, this is, you know, I understand what they're trying to do here, and then, you know. And then they're kind of playing that out in her head, like she's envisioning this whole thing, and you know. So I thought that was great. So, but getting back to influence though, like I don't know if you guys ever seen All That Jazz, the Fosse movie, which I think Rob Marshall might have taken inspiration from that film because it's very similar in the sense of but in that film it's almost a fever dream that Roy Scheider's character is having, who he plays like essentially he's playing Bob Fosse, and he's, you know, but it goes from like his everyday life of putting on a show, taking drugs, and, you know, and it's like almost like clockwork. And then, you know, then it cuts to these like musical numbers. Everybody's like, you know, so it's kind of, but it's done in such a way that it's so much more. I think this, if this is like The Godfather compared to that film, it's definitely more Scorsese because it's the pacing and it's so fast and frantic and everything. So, but I think that's might be where this comes from, where he wanted to split it into two, and the you know, definitely deserved the Oscar for editing, and because that's to me one of the most important parts of the film. You know, really kind of stands out, and especially the sequence. I love the sequence where she's like the ventriloquist. That's probably one of my favorite scenes.
That down. That's a great.
Yeah,
oh my God!
We both reached for the gun,
and it's just the editing in that scene where it's oh man, it's just really great.
Well, the whole scene, the performance with Gere and her, like the whole. I mean, that's a great scene. Was this Rob Marshall's first feature film? Did I read that?
I think so.
Yes.
Yeah. I think it was his first.
But he choreographed it.
Not bad. But going back to what you were saying, Dean, at the end of this movie, every time I watch it, I dislike Roxy Hart more and more.
Yeah,
like especially like the end scene with
in the court.
Amos.
In the court?
Yeah, like it's like what a bitch. Like, are you kidding? Like you said, he is the only character in the film that's actually likable. After him, I guess, is Sunshine, right? Like the reporter.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, because she really doesn't do anything except has one of the best lines, which is like, it's the trial of the century, which I thought was hysterical. Like, there was a lot of comedy. I'm not sure if it was, I think it was intentional, but there are a lot of funny things that are said in this. But yeah, they're just like Roxy Hart is, and to Renee Zellweger's credit, because I kind of don't like her. Like after this movie, I'm like, I need to watch Jerry Maguire again to like her again, because
you know what? That's so funny. I was thinking the exact same thing. You know, especially the very first scene where she's like, and like when she belts out the line, Jet, like
in the wrong key,
like in the wrong key. You point, and Christy, you pointed out how sultry and sexy Catherine Zeta-Jones is, and then to switch to her. And then her lipstick isn't quite right. She's got that.
It's
weird
on her tooth
smile.
at one point. You could see it on her.
Yes,
tooth.
yes, yeah. It right out the gate, you know that this is.
Yeah, she's just.
This isn't right. Yeah.
So, because she doesn't have the talent.
No.
Right.
She doesn't have the talent, but she figured out the playbook.
But Dominic West tried to tell her that.
Get there. Oh, poor Dominic West.
He didn't get a chance to. He got laid out straight away. I mean, two slugs to the chest, and then, you know, it was like, oh, that's what the hell is it? What the hell?
McNulty.
That's Fred Casely and John C. Reilly. Fred Casely. He sold us our furniture about a month ago.
It was a discount.
Oh,
what's he doing in here, Roxy? You know, like he plays like the
poor bastard,
like the bumpkin, like so perfectly. Yeah. Like he had the right amount of naivete and idiocy. Like that he was being played for a fool, but some of it was because he was naive, but then some of it was like, it's like that scene when Richard Gere, when he's trying to tell Richard Gere that, Roxy's pregnant, and he's like, well, she's been locked up for 4 months.
They can count.
And you haven't had,
Hey.
you haven't had, any
Copulating.
relations in 5 months.
Copulated.
He says copulated.
Yeah.
She says we haven't copulated.
Yeah, we was copulating.
She says we haven't copulated. She don't.
He's so malleable to be manipulated, and he gets one of the great, like that Mr. Cellophane scene. He helped to come up with the idea of showing him putting on the makeup at first. He has a deep love for clowns, so he said, "Let me come up with the makeup and then show me putting it on while as the intro to the character." And just such a pathetic character, and he keeps kind of whenever they needed a punching bag, like they would bubble him up, like Amos would come back up so they could trot him out in court, and
he was nominated for Best Supporting, right?
he was.
Yeah.
And I will
He
tell
was
you
in
that
3 Best Picture nominees that year.
Oh, really? I will tell you that Mr. Cellophane, that scene is definitely what probably got him his nomination. That is such a great scene, and what a great performance. You look at him and you're like, this is John C. Reilly, and he can sing. Like, to Dean, to your point before, it's like, oh, okay, so there's a lot of talent like that we don't know about with some of these people that's happening. I mean, even Gere can sing. Like, I think John C. Reilly, better, but Gere can tap dance.
I tell you what, Richard Gere, I mean, I shocked the hell out of me with some of those. I mean, the way he belted out some of those, like,
oh no, he did
some of those lines.
Yeah.
Like, I was
no,
just
he did a
so,
great job.
oh my
I'm
God.
not.
Because at first he's like this, talking like this, and that really like, hammy, like almost tin can sounding, the way they used like Walter Winchell kind of, like it, But man, when he was belting out some of those, some of those lines, it was just wow. He's got pitch, man. He's got, that came from in here. You could definitely tell. A lot of great training on this movie. You got to give him credit for,
absolutely.
Yeah, but before we go on Richard Gere, the one thing to point out too, in John C. Reilly's moment, right, in his fantasy moment. Everybody has, I don't want to say glamorous, but everyone's got like really nice sets and costumes, and he's in a deserted theater, and he's in an empty theater, not playing to like a
3
big
people
crowd,
in there.
and he's, like 2 people like staring at him, and he's got like the tattered clothing, and it really just kind of, even in his fantasy life, right? He can't even fantasize about anything better. He fantasizes that he's even more invisible, that that's what he is. Everyone else kind of imagines something different or better or more glamorous, but his reality is the same as his fantasy life.
Even his fantasy is just lame.
Yeah, he's not. He doesn't and it's so sad. It's so pitiful. Like he doesn't imagine anything better for himself, whereas everybody else does. It's even though
that's why I'm thinking it's her though, right? I mean, that's what it's kind of maybe she sees him as pathetic, and she's thinking about him. Therefore, he doesn't have a fantasy life. He doesn't have anything more than, because she's seeing it that way. I think I don't know if it's like I said, I'm not really sure if that's the case or not. That's that's my question is like, is it in her head, all in her head? Because she seems to be the primary character. Even Catherine Zeta-Jones, really, if you think about it, is really not in the film all that much. Not even half as much as she, as Renee Zellweger. So, and yet the story is supposed to be about both of them. So I'm just curious to see whether or not, if that plays in the musical, how different it is, and where, because I know they had to cut some songs as well.
Yeah,
quite a few. We all go,
but I don't know. when Amos is with Gere, like he Gere keeps calling him Andy, obviously because it's Amos and Andy show, and he, like when he at the end of his number, his dance number, Amos, like Gere's on the phone. He's like, "Oh, you're still here, Andy?" And he's like, "I'm leaving. Sorry to bother you." So, I think, Roxy may have made him feel that way, but I think that's how he interprets himself, and that's why his number is that, because it's kind of like you feel the way people make you feel So I never took it.
Well,
I
well,
mean, it's an interesting take on your part. Like I've never looked at it that way. Certainly, I'd like to watch it again and see it as if Roxy's controlling
The
everything.
creator
But
of the fantasy.
yeah, exactly. Just in that sense where she has in that kind of influence. It seems like she's
I
influencing.
don't like her enough to give
you
her
know.
that. To give her that.
No,
Like I
but-
really do not like her.
Yeah, and I really feel like after this movie, she really kind of took on that sort of
I would
attitude,
not disagree
right? In
with
real
you.
life.
Yeah,
She became a star, and like I think she kind of changed,
She did.
after this. Yeah,
Once she got very thin, and after this film, like she definitely the persona of Renee Zellweger changed. At least again, she became so far from that Renee Zellweger we met in Jerry Maguire. At least for me.
yeah.
But
Well, she was
This was
good.
after Bridget Jones.
after the
I think
first one, but
the
before
first
the
one,
second
yeah,
one.
the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she did Cinderella Man like 3 years later. She was fantastic in that.
Yeah, she was good.
Oh,
in that.
that was a great film.
That was a
Yeah,
great
I mean,
movie.
she still had it. You know, she kind
No,
of.
I'm not saying she's not a good actress.
know.
I'm just saying that
Oh.
she had this just persona about her of kind of. It seemed like she was more Roxy Hart than the
Yeah.
character's name in Jerry Maguire is escaping me right now. Than her, like
Yeah.
she actually became a little bit more of Dorothy of Roxy
Dorothy
Hart.
Boyd.
But Dean, before you go on, I didn't. John C. Reilly's character, I never think of him as an idiot. I always feel sympathy for him. Like I don't
He's a
think
sap.
Yeah,
I don't think he's-
got that
Sap is the
combination of
perfect
naive
word. There you go,
and,
Ken.
yeah, he's
Yeah.
not stupid.
He's not
He's
stupid.
just
Yeah.
he's just
chump.
he believes in the goodness so much in the goodness of people that
Yeah.
he's gonna fall for it every time. Like
he's a little
after
dopey.
that-
He's a little
He's just-
dopey though. He's easily
He's just very
manipulated.
gullible. Very
Yeah.
yeah, he's probably he's what you would think of a farm, off a farm thrown into the streets of Chicago.
Simple.
Just as, I guess simple, but
Yeah.
I always felt sorry for him. I never felt like, oh, it's a fucking idiot. Like,
No, you're not. I don't think you're really supposed to.
No, I
mean,
never thought of it that way. But he is a little dopey. He's easily manipulated. He can't do simple math. He's getting convinced that he's the
can't do
father
simple
of
math.
a
Well, he's just not
woman.
educated.
He doesn't know,
You know?
female biology.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't know the gestation period of a human
I
woman.
just told you he got
No.
off a farm. How long are horses
No,
pregnant for, Kevin? I don't know.
We was
Like 19 months.
copulating. We was copulating.
We was copulating. He's got
She'd
such
know
a
if we were
great, and the
copulating.
thing about Riley too is that he's got such a unique face,
He does.
doesn't he? He's not like like Richard Gere. He's like really good looking, but he's just so interesting. He's got such a great face. I love him in everything he does. Like
He's
just
great.
yeah.
It wasn't but like 5 years earlier he played a porn star. It's
Yeah.
pretty nice, so
There you go.
what about versatility?
Talking
And-
about Han Solo.
And 5 years
Hey, did you
later,
see that
he'd be
movie
in
Star
Step
Wars?
Brothers.
yeah. Yeah.
So
He would go from porn to Chicago to Step Brothers.
there you
I
go.
mean,
Yeah. Well, there
Come
you
on. That's an
What do
IMDb
you
right
want?
there.
It's the fucking Catalina wine mixer. I mean, what more do you? The fucking
Yeah.
Catalina wine mixer.
Yep.
Range.
Good Step Brothers. Yeah, let's not start with Step Brothers because I'm gonna.
No, we have to do Step
we're gonna
Brothers.
go off the rails.
Save that
We're
one.
gonna go off the rails though. Apparently, a very deadly combination in Chicago is jazz and liquor, according to Billy Flynn. It keeps
Yeah.
coming up. Jazz and liquor are like that, and it's jazz first. It's not the liquor. It seems like jazz is the really demonic thing that turns these women into killers, and then you add the liquor, and it makes these women unstable.
I just figured it
And-
out. It's Tay
and-
Diggs. He's the one.
Why is he
He's
the one?
orchestrating it.
Yeah, he's the
He's-
puppet master.
He's the puppet master.
He's playing the jazz. Who's providing the liquor? Like Billy Flynn says, jazz and liquor.
Well, jazz was always considered what, the devil's music
Yes.
back in the
Yep.
day. So
So-
yeah, I mean, yeah,
Corrupting society.
Corruption,
And,
yep,
and then you mix it.
Until Ozzy Osbourne, it was jazz.
yeah. There you go. It was the original heavy metal.
That's it.
Yeah.
And again, we get at the end we get a very really cutting quote that only one business where people can hate each other and still be successful is show business because Roxy and Roxy does not want to be with Velma and she's like I hate you, and Velma's like, well, that works perfect because it's show business and that's the only business where people can hate each other and get along. So that
And
even
then-
makes people even worse. That they're kind of like, you know what, you hate me, and it's still okay. You know, like we're not even going to try and be friends. That's fine. We're still going to make a lot of money anyway.
Yeah, but a lot of creativity comes from that
Yeah.
too, right? You know,
Yeah.
so you're talking about competing with one another and trying to up your game. So you're going to get the best out of both. You know, both
It's that
performances.
Robert Evans thing after The Godfather. He explained, like, if you're on a set and everybody gets along and everybody says yes to everybody
Mhm.
else, you end up with something lame. But if everything is a fight and you have to fight for your opinion,
Yeah.
then it's a worthwhile opinion, maybe,
Mm.
and you get something better out of it. You get better creative.
Mhm.
But
So
there's
you-
also the fact that, like, you're also just pretending.
So do you think that adage holds true then? If Kevin, the show business is the only business where people can hate each other and still be successful?
Bubby,
In my
Work for you?
experience,
Work for you?
Bubby.
I have worked with some people that I absolutely cannot stand, and we have made some amazing stuff.
There it
But
is.
for the most part, I love everybody I work with.
Cool. See
Do you
that?
call him Bubby? Is that what he used to say? Bubby?
Bubby?
Bubby.
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 Bubby. Bubby.
Bubby.
Hey, well,
Bubby.
Hey, Bubby. What's up, Bubby?
From now on, Kevin, when you're on your sets, call everyone Bubby. Hey, Bubby.
Bubby. Yeah, they'll love that.
Yeah. You won't get,
Harry Hamlin will love Bubby.
you won't get 5 calls from HR the next day. Yeah, so you know, we got off the track with Richard Gere a little bit. Yeah, great stuff. His numbers are just fantastic. He's got the kind of he's bringing that P.T. Barnum salesman showman vibe. And then when he has his fantasy numbers, he's got the sparkly suit. I mean, he's really able to really go for it. And we both reached for the gun number. That's the ventriloquist number. That's just a great piece of choreography. Renee Zellweger too, because she basically had to be like, just like this floppy doll to look, to not be trying to get up or trying to move, but to react to, being pulled, because it had that little thing on her back, like it was the, little thing for her mouth. And just some really great choreography and really great set pieces that they put these two. And it really kind of, it's nice because it allowed you to, the great thing about this is it allowed you to go into those fantasy realms and then still come back to a grounded movie. Whereas something like Grease has to stay in its universe, although they really didn't for a couple, like Greased Lightning and some of those other ones. They did kind of go into the fantasy thing, but came back. But for the most part, they stayed in their universe. So I like that Chicago kind of took each song out of it. And this way to get, you could go as broad as you want. You could do whatever costuming you wanted to. I
love the showbiz allegories. Like there's puppeteering and ventriloquism, and then he's like, I'm going to do my tap dance as he literally and figuratively tap dances his way through the mental gymnastics of explaining away this stuff.
Yeah, which was a great scene because he starts sweating more and more as the cross-examination gets more and more intense, and he's like undoing his shirt, and he's tapped it. It's like he's really working. It was great.
I like that, Dean, when he's tapping and then as he's moving, he's undoing his tie and he's undoing his shirt and you can see the sweat. I enjoyed that very much. The tap dance scene is great.
It's not very subtle. It's not subtle, whatever.
No,
he's literally tap dancing.
Nothing.
But it works
subtle.
so greatly because there's not a song. It's actually literal just of him
just dancing,
putting what he's trying to do in court into dance and into visualization without singing. We didn't need a song explaining about tap dancing. We just needed to see what a visual representation of what he was doing in court, and it was brilliant. I forgot about that scene when it came up. I'm like, oh,
well, the song like Razzle Dazzle sets that up.
Yeah,
sets up that dancing. This is now we're in the real deal. But even then, though, there was always the moment where he's almost looking at the camera and winking. He's kind of giving you that, like inching it closer and closer to the fantasy. You can almost see like a mirror there, like he's just kind of inching his way up, and he's just, the way he's looking at her, and they're like, she's got that smirk and this, sort of almost in a dance in itself, like a little bit of like choreography there as well, the body language, but yeah, it's just a great some really great moments. And then of course, like later on, and you just realize how much of a scumbag he is. I just love the fact that he's just who he is.
Yeah, he doesn't make any bones about it though, right? He doesn't
No.
he's not pretending to be something else. He from his very first scene, it's the song is all I want is love, like all I want is love, but it's actually money. Right? Yeah. He's trying to pretend like that he's in this for altruistic reasons, but it substitute the word love for money, and that's what it is. It's supposed to be very
Well, it's like when Amos goes to him and he only gives him $1,000. He's like, you said $5,000, and then Amos is like, sorry, and he's like, but I'll do it because of your devotion to your wife. But then he says one of the best lines of the film is, if Jesus had $5,000 and lived in Chicago, I'm just saying things would have turned out different. and again, Gere, and like you said, Dean, he's having a blast, and that's what makes part of this film so enjoyable. He is the comedy relief. Like he had, like even the courtroom scene, like it's so ridiculous. Like the arguments, like like it's just so ludicrous. And like again, like Sunshine's like it's the trial of the century. Like you have to kind of laugh at the absurdity of it all, but it works. And Gere is so enjoyable. Yeah, he's a scumbag, but he's so enjoyable. And what's weird is all of these characters, again, like we said, except Amos, is they're all just not nice people. But Roxy Hart is the only one I walk away with that I absolutely can't stand. Like I hate her. And maybe because she's the only one that has a real relationship with Amos and the way she treats him. Yeah. But everyone else I can tolerate, like, but her and having success after it, I'm like, oh.
Yeah. Everybody else is honest
about
who they are, about their nature. Yeah.
Yeah. Every single one of those inmates says exactly what they did. And it might be fudging
he ran into my knife. He ran into my knife 10 times.
But I mean, except Billy, I sense, is clearly closeted.
You think so?
Oh, maybe.
I think so. Like I felt it more at the very beginning when he's like, no, I don't care about any of that. But of course, at the time, he couldn't live out. But in general, everybody's just, this is me unabashedly. But then Roxy Hart, she's this interloper.
Yeah,
she just doesn't belong, and she's just forcing her reality on.
Yeah, anything to, like the scene when she fakes the pregnancy, right? Anything, like even Velma, like they cut to Catherine Zeta-Jones. She's like how far will this woman go to stay relevant, right? When she saw it fleeting away from her, she passes out. No, I hope the baby's okay. And it was all of a sudden, and Velma's just like, Jesus, like what how is there no low enough that this person will go to? So yeah, even the bad characters have limits, or they have kind of a guide that they live with, but Roxy Hart is kind of outside that. Yeah, she'll do and say anything to stay relevant or to get out of jail. And then you figure at the end, and like I said, that the scene with John C. Reilly is like, oh, Roxy, and she's like, what do you want? Like, what,
there is, you fool. There's no
baby.
No baby,
you idiot.
I can't believe they didn't want to take my picture.
Yeah.
Like, shut up.
Well, she gets, that when Gere just pretty much just leaves her in the dust too. That was a great moment. You don't feel sorry for her. He just walks out. He's like, oh, well, did my job. I got you off. I got my money, so I'm out of here.
On to the next one.
She thinks that, maybe he gives a shit, about me, but no.
Well, she doesn't care about him either. So it's she doesn't care about anyone except herself. Like she is the most selfish. She's one of the most selfish film characters in.
Yeah.
Even Richard Gere says it at the end when he's like, "Oh, I got the 5,000 from you. Oh, make it 10,000 because I got to get 5,000 from Velma for her performance." So that's all he knows the realities of it. And he even says that to her. He says you're like a fake celebrity. Yeah. Right. I think he says that to her in the courthouse or one of their meetings or in the jail. You're not even a real celebrity. You're just kind of he understands what it is, but his job What he gets
Yeah.
paid for is to create the stories and get these people off. But he understands that these people are not great people. You know,
Yeah,
that
but
they're
he
not.
himself isn't great, but
He's not the worst though. He's
No,
he's
he's
a
a-
typical
he-
typical. You
he's a
know,
lawyer.
Yeah, typical
He's a lawyer.
defense attorney. He's going to do what erroneous. That sounds like that sounds like something a lawyer would say. You know, it's like I didn't write that. You know, he just that whole scene was brilliant at the end. But that was with the big theatrical dramatics from him. He's like throwing his arms up in the air, and
Was he nominated?
he was nominated.
He was, right? Good.
He was. Okay.
Yeah, he was nominated. Let's see. No, he was
Queen
not.
La-
I'm sorry. I take that back.
Really? Queen Latifah was.
Renee Zellweger was nominated for Best Actress. John C. Reilly, Best Supporting Actor. Jones and Queen Latifah were for Best Supporting Actress. Which is interesting because you would think he was in it more than John C. Reilly and really was more impactful to the story. But I guess really people must have been like, wow, I feel bad for this guy. Let's give him an Oscar. He was so mistreated. Like they wanted to give it to Amos, not to John C. Reilly. They wanted Amos Hart to get the Oscar.
What a
But if
year
he
for
won-
John C. Reilly.
Yeah, what
If
else
he
was
won-
was he
Gangs of New
Navy?
York
Was that
and The Hours.
He was nominated for Gangs in New York?
No,
No, he was just in them.
He was
and
just
they
in
were
it.
all
Got it.
Best
Oscar
Picture nominees. It was
yeah.
like John Cazale level of
If
batting average.
That's a bold statement.
if John C. Reilly had won, would they have announced him as Andy?
Oh, here's James C. Reilly.
Say the wrong name on purpose. You get Warren Beatty up there with Faye Dunaway. They would have done it.
There you go.
Oh no,
Al Pacino.
Too soon? Too soon, Kevin?
Never too soon. All right. Did we hit our favorite scenes? I think we kind of knocked on the door, or no?
I didn't
we
say. I specifically didn't say my favorite scene because I was saving it in case you brought it up.
Oh,
and I always
okay.
give
You
a hard time.
kind of teased it out.
well,
You
what
teased
scene
someone
is
out.
left?
Yeah, let's hear you. Let's hear your favorite scene.
I mean, so I love the ventriloquist scene and the Mr. Cellophane. Cell Block Tango,
Okay. Yep.
best, my favorite scene in the movie. Like, what an amazing scene! The choreography, the
He had
singing.
it coming.
Catherine Zeta-Jones. Each one of them gets their little moment, their vignette.
Swish.
You have these
Cicero.
strong-willed, like intent women who have who have murdered people, just like singing their stories and in such a forceful way. And they're all just sexy in their own right. And it's what a great scene. I love that scene. That is my favorite. As much as I love the ventriloquist and I love Mr. Cellophane, Cell Block Tango is by far that's my favorite scene in the movie.
And of course, the only innocent woman ends up getting hung.
Yeah, seriously.
Right? Is she was right because she
Not
pulled out
guilty.
the white scarf. She did. Yeah, not guilty. She didn't.
Mm-hmm.
She's like the Andy Dufresne of Chicago, but she didn't. She didn't get to crawl out through.
No
500
one got
yards
her
of
the
the most foul-smelling filth. Came out clean on the other end.
You know what would be interesting is if they did a mashup of the Untouchables in Chicago.
There you go.
You get Sean
I'll work on that,
Connery.
yeah.
You get Sean Connery and Richard Gere like having a conversation. What are you prepared
Switch
to do?
brought a knife to a gunfight.
It could be fun. Could be fun. Could be a good time.
It would be interesting. It would be interesting. No, Sean Connery should have played Billy Flynn. That's what it would have been.
That would have been interesting.
Sean Connery presented Catherine with the Oscar,
Oh, really?
if I remember correctly, because he just said Catherine.
Well, they were
Because they had just they were in
entrapment.
entrapment. Yeah.
Catherine,
Yep. There it is.
come get your award, Catherine. Michael,
Did
sit down, Michael. Kevin, do you have a favorite scene?
I love Mama Morton's introduction.
Be good to Mama.
Because
Mama
like it's kind of the moment that puts the movie on another level. Because like the opening, it's like they're in jazz clubs. Of course, they're singing jazz. They're whatever. But that's where the mechanics of the movie really come out, where it's like, this is not a jazz setting, but this is now in that early 20th century style of music, and that's what's telling the story. It's like, now I know what this movie is.
That it's entering a fantasy realm.
Yeah, it's entering a fantasy realm. This is how the story is being told to us, and by now you're on board, right? Well, it's all out from here.
Cool. Eric, what do you got? You got one?
The ventriloquist scene, and then I love the scene at the end where she's playing the little dive. You know, she's trying to make it. And the reality is that she's not talented. The guy's like, nope. You know, well, let me. I got something else for you. Blah blah blah. And she tries. You know, and then he's like, nah, I ain't got time for you. She's like, thank you. And then Tay Diggs is like, oh, here's your music. That was great. You know, he's here's your music. He just walks off.
I don't think we've given Tay Diggs enough credit.
That was fine. That was like the final, like, you know, stab in the back, like right there. That was just, you know,
Tay Diggs did a great job. I mean, it was small. He was emceeing or however, narrating, whatever we're going to label him as. Tay Diggs was really enjoyable in this film. I thoroughly enjoyed Tay Diggs.
Yeah.
And he can sing too.
An act of desperation.
Yeah.
And now an act of desperation.
I think everybody rose to the occasion on this.
Yeah, there's no bad performance.
That was the key, is, you know, not having any weak links, because then it would be like, oh, everything was great, but this person just didn't fit. You know, especially for a period piece. You kind of really needed that. You needed those people to kind of blend in. And even though there's the elements of like this, the fantasy part where, you know, the musical numbers are really staged as if you're watching it on Broadway. Everybody still needed, and that was the thing, is people that you hadn't seen sing or dance before, all of a sudden, everybody is just kind of there, and you're not even questioning that John C. Reilly is singing, and you're not even questioning that Richard Gere, who's on his probably third wind of a career at that point, just kind of, you know, is just kind of having a resurgence and having a blast doing it, you know, and that kind of comes through. And the fact that we find, you know, Amos so pathetic and such a sad character really goes to the writing, and it goes to the acting that these people brought, and the fact that you still hate Roxy afterwards. Right? Mm-hmm. No, it really speaks to that. That's the difference between 100%. This and like a Xanadu, right? A Xanadu was kind of like, we want to make a musical, so let's get these musical numbers in here, and we'll kind of shoehorn them in, and we'll kind of make it around it. Whereas Chicago, you know, they probably could have done a traditional telling from the way it was on Broadway, but they went outside that, and they created these genuine characters, you know, and they got really great actors to.
Well, that's the thing. They got actors to play these roles. They weren't, you know, they didn't get singers.
Gimmicks.
Necessarily. Like, you
know, they got
actors
who could sing.
Yeah,
actors who could sing, but we didn't know that at the time. Like Richard Gere, I wouldn't have known, you know, or even Catherine Zeta-Jones, because she was pretty new at the time, or Renee, you know. So, you know, so you're going in and you're kind of like, I don't know about this, but it was very interesting.
They all pulled it off. And Dean, you're right. Like the fact that every time I watch it, walk away hating Roxy Hart is a testament to the writing and Renee Zellweger. And I'm going to say probably at least 5 more times in the next 30 seconds that I hate Roxy Hart.
Go watch Judy. She was really good in Judy.
She was good in Judy, but
so go watch that. That was a good.
But it doesn't change the fact that I hate Roxy Hart.
Okay, well, hopefully that'll help. Kind of, you can see her in a singing role, and then you can like her. So Judy kind of fills that.
I don't hate Renee Zellweger. I hate Roxy Hart, but it does sour me on Renee Zellweger, and I have to come out of it. Like I have to realize I have to separate them.
You need some time alone after watching Chicago.
I do. I need a little.
You need to go into an isolation chamber.
Pretty much.
A soundproof booth.
No, I just have to be looping Jerry Maguire in an isolation chamber.
Hey, let's not forget though that she screwed Rex Manning.
That's right. She did.
Empire Records. So
when is
Rex Manning screwed her? Technically, Rex Manning screwed her.
Yeah.
Is that in March?
What?
What's that?
I don't remember what day Rex Manning Day is.
Rex Manning Day is April 8th, so it's coming up next month. Yeah.
Dean, you should do it on April 8th.
What, Empire Records?
Empire Records, yeah. My name's not fucking Warren.
Oh, hey.
Oh man,
Hey, come on now.
Well, now we have to mark it explicit.
Yeah, very, very explicit. And angry. There's no A for angry.
There isn't.
God, I wish I had a drum set in my office, right?
Yeah, you could just play, right? Anthony
Yep.
Polly.
In the back room, like playing in the back of the.
He had that weird, like, red dyed hair, though. His hair was like reddish, like dyed. It was weird.
You know, who would have thought
Battaglia?
Rory,
Yeah, in that
Rory
movie.
Cochrane would be
Yeah.
such a good actor? And like Rory Cochrane's a really good actor.
Yeah.
He plays stoned really well. I mean, yeah, Dazed and
No,
Confused.
but
and,
even
you
like
know.
later in his career, like in Argo and all these other films, he's actually he's a really good actor.
Yeah, but he
He's a-
got kind of kind of, pigeonholed in the stoner
Well, he got the Dazed and Confused
type
thing and all
thing. Yeah,
that.
which
but
he had that on lock.
he
We gotta
doesn't
do
have
Dazed
that
and
look
Confused.
anymore. So
No, but
rest assured.
we got to do that. It's almost like they left him behind in that film. Everybody else kind of moved on. McConaughey, like everyone else went on to bigger things, and he's still like the stoner, like still on the set, and he's like still like showing up, and there's no film being made.
Why are you hating on Rory?
I'm not hating on him. I love him. He's a great, that movie's. I was just thinking about that movie today because I was watching
Weren't
a
we
thing
supposed
about
to
Ben
do that?
Affleck, and he was talking about Dazed and Confused. He was talking about working on it at the time. So, yeah, we'll get to it. We'll get to
Dean, you didn't give your favorite scene?
I pretty much did. Like Mr. Cellophane is a highlight. We really kind of beat that to death. The tap dance. Yeah, just a lot of seeing these actors do this work. So less the scenes that were movie scenes, right? Because they're going to be great, and we know that, and that's what they're there for. But yeah, to see the dancing, to see Catherine Zeta-Jones really just, especially with the knowledge that she was pregnant, throughout that, it was like, holy crap! Like she's really like going for it. So she earned that Oscar. She really kind of
she
gave it
absolutely-
all. And like I said, there was and the way they filmed it, a lot of it too. A lot of those sequences is they're kind of they're not looking into the camera, but the camera is maybe just a little bit to the right sometimes. So they're looking straight ahead, but the camera's not straight on them, so they're not looking into the camera when they're doing some of the stuff. It was some very interesting choices. If you rewatch it, you'll kind of see what I mean. Where the camera's just a little askew for some of it, and that made it interesting because then they're kind of looking straight ahead, but the camera's not in front of them. I kind of dug some of those choices that they made with it too. So it kind of
a lot of it lends itself to the what it is, but a lot of side eye in this movie, profiling, a lot of this kind of thing, the back, the shoulders, the close up.
That reminds me of my favorite moment is when and I can't remember the exact scene, but Velma is like saying something really emotional, and then she just turns and smiles for the camera for one flash, and then she's back to it.
Yeah. The nature of celebrity, right? Is you kind of
Well, that was
you
kinda
always
like
have to.
in the courtroom where before she reads from the diary, she's like, "My voice, I haven't worked in a while." Before she goes to read the diary.
It's like that. That's the most important thing, is making a good impression. So, hopefully, we made a good impression with this episode. Hopefully, you enjoyed Chicago. It's available on streaming services. It's also available for free on Pluto TV. They've got some ads in between, but you can check it out that way as well. So it's either way, it's going to be a good fun watch. So, thanks for checking us out. You can hit us up on Facebook and Instagram. Let us know how you feel about Chicago. Also, if you're watching us on YouTube, you can do that in the comment section below, and we reply to all these things. So we definitely like to engage. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe too if you're on YouTube as well. That helps us in the algorithm, pushes us further up when people are looking for things, gets us to the top of the heap, as they say. But that's going to do it. Kevin Howard, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Last
Dean.
episode was kind of a downer. It was Saving Private Ryan. It was heavy material.
Yeah.
I'm glad we got you back for something a little bit more lighthearted. And,
My
this is
pleasure.
women killing men. So not
What's
that
not
lighthearted,
lighthearted about that?
but it's got a light touch to it.
They had it coming.
They had it coming. They absolutely did.
But they did
Chris-
it with jazz hands.
So it was
jazz,
okay.
jazz and liquor. Jazz and liquor. The deadly combo.
Murder by jazz hands.
Yeah, there you go.
Ha! Christy Cuomo, thank you so much
Oh, thank
for
you.
joining us as well. Always a
Eric,
pleasure.
Eric gets the last laugh of the night.
He got the final
Come
part.
out with every once in a while. I can remember one.
That's by jazz hands. Sounds like an episode of Columbo.
Absolutely does. That's probably where subconsciously what I was
I
thinking.
bet it is one. Yeah.
No Columbo. You're not going to do a Peter Falk impersonation now?
One more question. One more question. Yeah, that's going to do it. So thank you, Kevin and Christy, for joining us. Eric and I will be in our seats as usual each week, waiting for the next movie or the next piece of music album to come by to grace our ears and eyes, and we will give you our opinions on it. We'll have some fun with it. We'll bring some guests in, so you can expect that each and every week from Eric and I. We're going to cheeks in the seats right here. We're not moving till the next episode, so we're not going to move. Until the passenger pigeon comes in with what we're going to do for our next episode. We unhook it from their talon and we read it, and then we take the appropriate steps.
That sounds like a great band name, Cheeks in the Seat.
Cheeks
I like
in
that.
the seat.
That's all right. Yeah.
I thought you were going to say Talon. That sounds like a death metal band. Talon.
Yeah.
So
Anyway.
that's going to do it. So for Kevin, for Christy, for Eric, this has been Dean. And thank you for joining us. But we're going to ask you before we go to please be kind and go ahead and rewind.